If you're thinking about buying a new construction house, there are a lot of steps involved with making that purchase of the home. There's a lot of important steps along the way, but one of the most important steps is going to be the final step, which is closing day. And not a lot of people are talking about what happens on this day, what to expect, and how to prepare for it. So if this is something you're interested in, this video is going to be made specifically for you so that you have a full understanding of what to expect on the closing day of your brand new home. So if we have not met yet, my name is Brock. I'm a real estate agent right here in San Antonio, and I help folks just like you buy new construction homes all over San Antonio and the surrounding area. And so if you would like my help in finding your next house here in San Antonio, or if you're just curious and have some questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I've got all of my contact information down below, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions and of course help you find that new construction house here in San Antonio whenever you are ready to do so. So with that, let's go ahead and dive on into today's video topic and talk about buying a new construction house, but more specifically, the final step in the whole entire process, which is going to be the big day known as closing day. Before you even get to this final step here and become a homeowner of this new house that you've been anxiously waiting for, there are a number of milestones that you've already passed. First off, you've met with a real estate agent. So if you need an agent here in San Antonio, again, please do not hesitate to reach out to me and I'd be more than happy to help you guys out. After you've met with an agent, you're going to start exploring neighborhoods, and maybe you've already done that a little bit before you even started to go look at these homes in person. At some point, you find the house that you like and you work with your agent to negotiate a good deal, get a good price on the house. You're looking for those incentives, you're negotiating all sorts of things. And then once you're under contract, you've been working with the lender on the back end. You've been working with your agent. You've done some home orientations and blue tape walks. You've worked with the lender and getting all the documents that they need. You've worked with the title company and answered any of their questions and provided information that they've been wanting to collect. And there's all sorts of other great things here in the process. And ultimately, you get to a point where you're a few days out before closing. And this is kind of where I wanted to start with this video, is a few days before the closing. And we're going to take it all the way to a few months even after closing. So there's going to be a lot of information I'm going to share with you here. And about 3 days prior to closing is where I'm going to start here with you guys today. And so at this point in time, the lender has to send you a final closing disclosure. And this closing disclosure has all the information about the home loan that you're taking out to secure for this property. And on this closing disclosure is a ton of information that you guys need to review and make sure is accurate before we get to closing day, because if anything is incorrect, now is the time to catch this information. So on this closing disclosure, you're going to see your total monthly payment to include your escrow, which is going to include your homeowner's insurance, your property taxes, and maybe homeowner's insurance. Is really going to depend on how that's set up. You're also going to see your interest rate that you have agreed to with the lender. And so these are very important to review. And again, make sure it is all correct, because sometimes there are some errors. You're also going to see your final number on the cash to close. And sometimes you may have a little bit of money that you need to bring to closing, and other times you may have a lot of money that you have to bring. It just depends on your down payment and how much closing costs you have to pay out of your own pocket. Let's face it, right now here in San Antonio, a lot of these builders are doing a lot in the way of incentives to reduce those interest rates as well as cover closing costs. So you may only be responsible for the down payment, but you might also have some closing costs on top of that. So please make sure that that number, it's going to be at the very bottom of that first page on the closing disclosure. You need to make sure to know that number and have some funds ready for that amount, because that's what's going to be expected at the title company whenever you go to close on the closing day. Once you've reviewed the full disclosure, because it's going to have a ton of other information in there as far as how they came up with your cash to close and all of the fees and prorated taxes and insurance and all of the things that you need in there. So make sure to review that thoroughly and ask your lender if you have any questions on any discrepancies or just need some clarification on anything in this closing disclosure. Now, usually the day before closing or the day of closing, there's also another step you need to do. What I like to do with my clients is do a final walkthrough, sometimes with the construction manager from the builder that you're buying from, and we're just going to do a final review and final check of everything. Now, again, at this point, you've already done your third-party inspection if you've done one. And again, third-party inspections are optional, but they're highly encouraged even on new construction homes, just to make sure everything gets caught and fixed before you even take possession and ownership of this home. So the final walkthrough here on the day before or the day of closing is important to make sure that everything that was identified in the inspection report has been repaired, and of course to double check that in person to make sure it is actually complete. Also, we've already done a blue tape walk with the home orientation. With the blue tape walk, it is a more cosmetic inspection that you typically get to do with your agent and walk through the house. And so again, this final walkthrough is to make sure that not only are the inspection items completed, but also the blue tape items that we identified are complete and fixed, or at least have a solid understanding of why they may not have been fixed. Now, typically everything is completed by by the construction manager and is repaired and or fixed. However, if there are some things that are still outstanding for whatever reason, maybe there's been a weather delay in getting some items out there to get fixed, or if there's just some other delay in getting those items done, there will be sort of an IOU that the construction manager writes, and then that you will also sign. And another document that you're going to sign here is a final acceptance form, just saying, hey, other than what's already been agreed to on this IOU, there's nothing else outstanding that I'm expecting from the builder. So this is, again, your final due diligence to make sure that everything is complete and your final acceptance of it before you go to the closing table. Now, backing up to the closing disclosure a little bit, again, I mentioned on the cash to close here. So if there is an amount that you have to bring to closing, whether it's for your down payment or your closing costs or for both of those items, you need to make sure to work with your bank in order to get those funds accessible and over to the title company. Now, a lot of the title companies here in Texas will actually accept wire transfers for those closing funds that you need to bring. And so if you are planning to wire those funds, please make sure to contact that title company. Double verify those wiring instructions before you even send that wire transfer. If you would rather, a lot of these title companies also accept a cashier's check and other forms of payment. So please, again, double check with the title company because sometimes they don't accept some payment types that other title companies will. So again, just reach out to that title company, verify the ways to provide those closing funds to them, and then confirm the instructions before sending any money or going to the bank to get that cashier's check or other form of payment that they do accept. Now, I typically recommend my clients to provide these funds to the title company the day before or the morning of closing, especially if you're sending a wire transfer. If you're providing a cashier's check or some other form of acceptable check to them, then providing it at the time of closing whenever you go to sign all the documents is perfectly acceptable as well. Now, moving to the big day, this is going to be the closing day. If you haven't already submitted those closing funds that I just talked about, this will be the time to take care of that and make sure you have a plan of action to get those closing funds to the title company. Now, if you're not very familiar with the title company, and maybe I should have already mentioned this before just now, but a title company is a neutral third party here in the state of Texas that handles the documents and the funds for a real estate transaction. So they're the ones that facilitate all the paperwork side of things for the ownership transfer and all of the other documents that you get to sign. And they also collect all funds from all parties and then disperse them to the appropriate parties at the end of the day when everything is all finalized. So the day of closing, you will go to a title company, and each builder typically has their own title company. Sometimes it's a third party. So you just need to verify where you're going to be going to sign all the documents because there might be multiple locations for a same name title company. So make sure to know where you're going. But on the day of closing, you will go to the title company and there are a few things you need to bring. First off, those closing funds that I've already talked about a couple of times. Make sure to bring that because that's going to be important in order to get funding approval and also get your keys on in a timely manner. Outside of that, you're going to need an acceptable form of ID. Most people bring their driver's license, but I also have seen folks bring their passports. A title company may also accept other forms of ID. It just depends. But again, driver's license or passport are the most common to bring. Now, when we go to the title company, of course, everyone's super excited because it's the big day that you get to become the owner of the house that you've been anxiously waiting for maybe 30, 45 days. Or if you're building from the ground up, you might have been waiting for 6 months or longer. So this is a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement built around this day. But once you get there, of course, they're going to request your forms of identification that you brought. They're going to ask for your closing funds. And then the big moment starts, right? You're going to have a stack of papers that's an inch, maybe an inch and a half thick. And there's a lot of documents that you're going to have to sign. So please be prepared to sign your name many, many times. And you're going to have to sign it just as you do on your form of identification that you provide so that it matches. At this time, as you're signing these documents, the notary that is facilitating all the signing is going to be briefly explaining all the documents. Of course, if you need to read or ask for clarification on any of these items, please make sure to do so before you sign it because there are a lot of documents. Some of them are just plain disclosures. Some of them have a lot of ramifications as far as like occupancy requirements, right? Some loan types require you to occupy the property. So if you say, hey, I'm going to occupy, and then you don't, it explains all of the ramifications if you get caught doing that sort of stuff and causing some mortgage fraud there. Not to scare you, but there's just a lot of documents in there. Of course, one of the big documents that you're going to sign is the deed of ownership. This is what gets signed with the county and obviously shows that you are the owner of the property and shows who the lien holder is and holding that loan for that note that you're taking out. There's all sorts of documents that you're going to sign as far far as the closing disclosure, and it really just depends on the loan type, because like VA loans have certain documents that have to get signed, whereas they don't get signed on other loan types such as conventional or FHA loans, and vice versa. So please make sure you're understanding the documents that you're signing. There are a lot to go through, and typically these notaries move pretty quickly and will give you a general high-level overview of what you're signing before you get it. Now, a couple of key documents outside of that deed are going to be your property survey. You're going to need to make sure you have access to this, because whenever you go to sell the property down the road, even if it's 10, 20, 30 years down the road, you're going to need to have that property survey so that you can pass it along to the new owner. Now, with the survey too, if you plan on making any permanent changes to the property itself, you're going to need to know where the boundary lines are and the setback lines, and of course provide it to any contractors and HOA for approvals and final design planning and all sorts of stuff. So just know there's a lot of documents that you're going to sign here. You do get a copy of every one of these documents at the end of the day, so don't worry too much about reading every single word unless you would like to, and of course understanding everything is important here. So once you've signed everything, you might think that everything is said and done, but what happens is all of these documents actually get sent back to the lender. They look over and make sure that everything is good to go, no signatures were missed, and then they give funding approval. And once funding approval has happened, they instruct the title company to, of course, disperse all the funds appropriately. Now, at this point, the loan has been funded and you can officially receive the keys, and you have officially, again, become the owner of that property. A lot of folks tend to think that just because you signed all the documents, you actually get the keys at that moment in time. Some builders do release the keys as soon as you've signed everything and it's been double checked. This is just because typically they're working with their own in-house lender and they know how that funding approval works. Sometimes that funding has already been sent over from the lender. They're just waiting to verify those documents before they can actually say we're good to go on this one. However, depending on what type of lender you're using and the title company, you may have to wait an hour or 2 hours after signing all those documents to actually get your keys. And so once the funding approval has been received, I did just say you get the keys, but sometimes the title company will have those keys on hand and hand them over to you at that exact moment that they've been granted access to do so. Sometimes what I've seen is you have to actually go back to the community that you're purchasing the house in and go to the sales office to get the keys. Sometimes that sales rep has them on hand there in the office, and sometimes the construction manager has them. So it really just depends, and you need to verify where you're going to get those keys from. But once you have those keys in hand, again, you are officially the homeowner and you can start moving into the house as soon as you're ready to do so. Now, at some point, of course, you're going to be moving all of your belongings into this house and setting everything up. You're going to want to make sure to set up the utilities within the next 3 to 5 days, because a lot of these builders will actually cut off the utilities within about a week of you closing. And so make sure that you have access to electricity, water, and gas if applicable, just so that you have those utilities in place and operating. Also, with those keys that you've been handed from the builder, you want to make sure to put them inside the lock of the door a few times and turn the tumbler on it. These construction managers do have master keys that work on all of the homes that they're building, and so whenever you get those keys and actually put it into that lock and use it a few times, it actually resets the lock and kicks that builder's master key out of there. So it's a very important step, because sometimes even the sales reps have these master keys, and you don't want people to erroneously come into your house, because even though you just purchased it and it is yours, sometimes the salesperson or construction manager just might forget that you are now the owner of it, and so they might actually try to walk into your house. And again, we don't want that to happen, so just make sure to use your key a couple times. Now, this next step is one that you need to take on your own, and it's also an important step, but not everyone does this step. Once you've got settled in the house and you have time to change your driver's license to your new address, you actually want to file for your homestead exemption. And with the homestead exemption, you just file it with the appraisal district for your county, and they're going to want to see that your driver's license actually matches the address for the house that you're filing the exemption for. So this is why I say you have to change your driver's license before doing this. That homestead exemption is going to save you a little bit of money on your taxes every single year, and so it is a crucial step just to keep a little extra money in your pocket. And if you also qualify for any other property tax exemptions like disabled vet or over 65 or any other exemptions out there, make sure to file for these alongside the homestead exemption just to maximize your savings there. Now, another thing you're going to want to do is you're going to have all of these brand new appliances, to include the stove, dishwasher, the microwave for sure. You're also going to have your air conditioning system, and there's going to be two parts. You're going to have the outside condenser as well as the air handler. You're going to want to make sure to reach out to the manufacturer for each one of these appliances and register for the warranty, because the builders typically don't have a warranty for these specific appliances as it comes from the manufacturer of those appliances. Now, if you also have a refrigerator, washer, and dryer, make sure to please register these as well so that you get the full warranty on those. But not everyone gets those last 3 appliances. So just whatever appliances the builder gave you, make sure to get those items registered for their warranty. Now, within about 30 days of you closing and becoming the owner of the house, the construction manager for that builder will actually be reaching back out to you just to check in, see how things are going, and ask if there's anything that needs to be addressed while they're there. Typically, they come by and it's a very short meeting, maybe takes 5-10 minutes, just depending on how long you want to talk with them and if you have a list of items for them to fix already. But around month 11 of you owning this house, I would recommend you guys to get another third-party inspection on the house. This, of course, is optional to do, but it is a good recommendation to catch anything that might have happened, because at this point, you've lived in the house for a little bit. It's gone through all of the seasons, so it's gone through the heat, especially here in San Antonio, and the few months of cold we've had, and so everything stresses and compresses and everything, and it's, again, gone through all the seasons, so it's really good to test all the systems and components. So again, it is great to have a third-party inspection again at the month 11 just to see what might have come up during your ownership, and this is, again, a way for you to be able to submit it to the warranty department for your builder to get anything fixed under warranty, because most builders have a 12-month craftsmanship warranty, so anything identified by an inspector here can be submitted to the warranty department and get addressed under that warranty period that you have. Also, be mindful of any other warranties you might have. Most builders have a 1-6 or a 1-10 warranty, so just be mindful of the 2 and the 6 or the 10-year warranties there that you may have, and just address any items that might come up during that time before those warranties expire. So closing day here is a little bit more involved than just signing a few papers and getting some keys. It's a big momentous day. There's a lot of steps to even get to the closing day, and of course some things to be mindful of afterwards. So I hope this video was useful and you learned something from it today. If you did, please go ahead and smash that like button down below, and while you're there, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon as well so that you'll be notified the very next time I make a video for you guys. And if you're looking for some help in finding your new construction house here in San Antonio, I'd be more than happy to help. Reach out at any time with any questions you have, and of course for my help in finding that house for you and your family. So with that, thank you one final time for watching this video. I hope you guys have an incredible day, and I can't wait to talk to you guys here soon.